it just takes a second for Instagram to catch up, and then we're all good. So come on, Instagram. Cool. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, welcome to another Inspiration Behind the Stories. I am here with Rebecca Dimyan, the author of Waiting for Beirut. I'm so excited, guys, because Becca and we actually got our MFA together, and I mean, there's nothing like doing that. I mean, you make bonds that are forever, with the folks that you got your MFA with. So anyway, we'll just go ahead and we'll dive right into it, because the purpose of this is so that you get a sense of what really drove the creation of Waiting for Beirut. So with that said, what was the moment that made you say, you know what? Oh my gosh, I have got to write this book?
Well, it's so funny that you opened up with talking about our MFA program, because actually that was a really important moment. It was driving to Ender's Island, where we got our MFA, our low residency program. Driving there for the first time, I was thinking about what my thesis would be. And I was going into this program. I loved fiction, I loved writing, but I wasn't sure exactly what my project was going to be. And as I'm driving and I have my music playing and I'm thinking back on like what I feel inspired to maybe pursue for like the next 2 years of my life, I thought back to this moment. It was a conversation, just this really casual conversation with my cousin, like years earlier, when she was telling me some information that I did not know. Like, she was sharing family secrets.
Got it.
And she was talking about she was talking about my grandfather, my Jiddu. And there were a lot of pieces. He passed away when I was 3 years old, but there was a lot about his story that didn't really make sense to me. For example, he stayed on his honeymoon with my grandmother's father had a heart attack when they were on their honeymoon in Lebanon, and he stayed behind and he didn't come home with her. And I always thought that was so strange, and it never made sense to me. And as my cousin was sharing family secrets and stories, she mentioned how he was actually gay and he had a friend.
Oh!
He had a friend that he met on his honeymoon, who this lovely Greek man that he stayed in contact with for the rest of his life. And I started asking this question: what if he wasn't a friend? What if there was more to this story? And I was like, oh my God, that I need to investigate this. I need to write about this. And I needed the safety of fiction, I think, to investigate this family. It's family history, but I did not want to write it as a memoir. I wanted to write it as a novel. So,
wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. What I mean, now that for real, like that's a real kicker. So like what first sparked like this specific story, right? Because I mean, you referenced like the real implications, but like for Waiting for Beirut itself, what really made you say, okay, no, this is the way I'm going to approach it, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So as I was like figuring out, the story, and like I started, of course, interviewing a lot of family members and different members of the community who might have been alive, in the story is set in the 1950s, in both Danbury, Connecticut, and in Lebanon. And so I started talking to a lot of people, and they were so excited to share their memories, of this time of Danbury in the early 1950s. And it was just this incredible place. And the city of Danbury felt to me like it needed to be a character as well. I needed to write the story this way. I needed to, immerse myself in the research and these oral histories and just like let it fill me up basically, and just kind of put it on the page. And I was like, yeah, there's no other way to do like this. It felt very much like I don't know, kismet or something. I don't know. It's like I didn't really have a choice. Like once I started on this road, like my free will was gone. Like this was happening. I was just doing it.
Wow, I love it. Now, I know we technically published this like 5, 6 years ago, but like, why this story now? Why do you feel it's relevant now?
Well, as you know, Lebanon has been in the headlines a lot. So I think honestly, one of the most important elements of the story isn't just simply the story of George, who's inspired by my grandfather in his life. It's about being Lebanese. It's about being
Mm,
Lebanese American. It's about this culture, this people who are the most. I mean, I'm obviously biased. I'm half Lebanese, but the Lebanese people are the most loving and passionate and just kind and generous people, and it's, I don't know, I feel like it's so important for people to understand what it means to be Lebanese,
mm.
now more than ever.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Absolutely. Now, one, I think every author, like, as we're, especially when you're going into it knowing, like, okay, I know this is something I need to explore, but usually there's also questions that you're trying to answer, not only for the author, for the reader, but for yourself. What were some of those questions?
Yeah, when I started this, so I spent 11 years, so, not that much time, 11 years of my life writing this book. And I did a lot of growing during that time. And I feel like I was like mid 20s, I guess, when I started this book. And I was definitely growing I mean, I was an adult, but like a young adult still. I feel like there's a lot of learning and growing to do. And, at the time, I feel like there was some different challenges, heartbreak and that sort of thing. And I've always been a person who writes to process life. And
Mm,
so writing this story as George is coming of age and figuring himself out, I wasn't necessarily grappling with the same sorts of questions that he was, but I was still, you know, figuring myself out and, coming into my own. And I feel like our stories, in a sense, were parallel. And
mm.
so, writing that for me, writing his story helped me to also kind of make sense of my own.
Got it. Understood. Um, Now, taking 1,000 steps back, right? You mentioned that this is obviously the fictionalization of your exploration. Um, but the actual story itself, who is the story about, and what's at stake for the characters if things don't go right?
Great question. So, George is the protagonist of the story, and the book opens up with he's called home. He's at the beginning of the story. He's in medical school, or
Mm,
his hope is to go to medical school. He's in college. He's studying, and he's at this really exciting juncture in his life. But then he learns that his father is dying.
mm,
And as Lebanese immigrants in Danbury, Connecticut, they have a family grocery store, a family business, and he needs to come home. He needs to come home and fill in for his father. He needs to take over the family business, and so he does that. Oh, sorry, my
uh,
dog is under my dog is under the table, and she's sorry about that.
totally fine. No thing. Not a thing.
Sweet puppy wants in on this.
I know, right?
Really rosy. No, she lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Yes. So right. So in the beginning of the story, he's so yeah, he's answering these questions. He has to come home. There's a lot at stake. It's his life and his journey, and he's also starting to think about his sexuality, and he
Mm,
might be interested in men, and he's like kind of interested in men, and but this journey that he started away from home in college now is abruptly thrown off course, and he has to go back home and assume these family responsibilities. And when he does that, it's not simply running the family business. It's also, finding a nice wife and, picking
mm.
up where he left off before he went off to school. And all of a sudden it's like he has two paths, which one is he going to pursue?
Wow. Oh my. So, I mean, there's a lot uh that's explored within the story. What kind of an emotional ride can a reader expect?
Definitely an emotional roller coaster. So hopefully you like those. um, Yeah, no, there's a lot of emotions. You are there's some light-hearted moments as well. I think there are a few characters in the book that try to alleviate some of the more serious, heavy moments because there are a lot of those. But you have like the character I had the most fun writing was is Uncle Taffy. Uncle
Mhm.
Taffy is inspired by a senile old Lebanese uncle. I fictionalized him, of course, but he was a lot of fun. There was a lot of stories about this crazy old man who just, had his way of doing things, and he was definitely someone who brings a lot of humor into it. But I would probably say that this story is very emotional, and it's a romance as well, and there's a lot of challenges, and it's very up and down. So have a box of tissues ready.
Now everyone, I mean, myself included, like when I'm writing, there's always a section, at least one, where it's like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Like you just like have to walk away for a little while and then come back. What were the hardest parts of the story to write?
um, that's a really good question. So I feel like there were a few, but the one that stands out to me the most, actually, for me, the beginning. I had a lot of problems with the beginning, which is funny because it felt like the story could begin so many different ways.
Mhm.
And that opening scene where George finds out that he needs to come home, there was so much going on. There were so many different emotions. There were so many different factors kind of like weighing in that I wanted to capture in the scene. I felt like I had to rewrite that scene over and over. That's actually probably what of the 11 years that I spent writing this book, I feel like I spent like 7 years writing the first chapter.
Oh wow. um Honestly though, the truth is like everyone has at least one part and that it's like it caused you to like you're not sure what the rest of it's going to be because you just have to get that together, you know. So, yeah, totally. Um Now where were you in your life when you first started it and how do you feel like writing this book changed you?
um, so I was at the beginning of so I started it my first semester of grad school.
Mhm.
So my first semester, I decided to go to grad school. I graduated from BU into the recession, and I had I was not having any luck in the job market.
Mm.
I ended up going back to my job waitressing that I had during college, and it was just like a very strange time. It was a very exciting time. I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to pursue writing more seriously. Um, and so, starting this book was kind of like a little bit of an anchor when I felt I was a little bit untethered. And it was
Mm.
something, and it was maybe that's also part of the reason. Oh wow, I feel like I'm having an epiphany right now. That may be part that may be part of the reason it took me so long to write. Maybe I didn't want to finish the book because it was something that I carried with me through so many changes, like professionally, personally. Um, it was something familiar and these characters, although they're based on real people, they're still characters that I created.
Mhm.
And they're different from those real people. And most of the real people they're based on, passed away when I was very young. So these real characters, lived in my head and in my heart for so many years. You become attached. You don't really want to part with them.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, that's so cool. Um, Now, what actually surprised you the most while you were writing this story? It sounds like, there could have been lots.
Yeah. So I think what surprised me the most about writing this story was actually the writing process itself,
Mhm,
and how much I enjoyed it, but how excited people in the community, in the Danbury community, how excited they were to talk about their memories of my grandfather's grocery store. Like
Oh.
that was I had people reaching out because I had posted, early in the writing process, I posted on like a Danbury Facebook, like Danbury history Facebook page. And I received emails and
Mm.
messages and people who don't even live in Danbury anymore. They live all over the country and they were just so excited. They're like, please let me share my memory of your grandfather's your like a memory I have of your grandfather giving me candy like behind the like but like just the most random memories. Like people would reach out and be like, "Oh, I remember the smell of the grocery store." Like it made it very exciting actually for me to recreate this place again, not just Danbury, but the grocery store itself. In the heart of the Lebanese community in this little neighborhood in Danbury, Connecticut, and so many people. I didn't realize how many lives he had touched, how many and how many people had such wonderful memories of this place and of him.
Oh my gosh, how stunning. That is fabulous. Now was there a specific character that you felt was the most challenging to write and why?
Yes, definitely. So George's father, Bai, um, that character was very difficult. I think in the beginning, in the early draft
Mm.
of this novel, he was very much a caricature. Like he was very much like this angry, mean drunk of a person. And I think
Oh,
it was
wow.
it was very difficult for me to make him more nuanced.
Mhm.
I kind of got hung up for some reason on like the negative aspect of this character, and he felt like somebody who needed to be like this terrible person. But I
Mm.
realized that he wasn't though. Like he's still his father, and you don't want to have like a Disney villain. so, so I needed to go back and really kind of humanize him.
Mhm.
So I ended up, having to go back further into George's backstory in order to do that and to kind of conjure up these early memories, these tender moments,
Mm.
because it did exist. He wasn't always like in the
A
beginning
jerk.
of the book. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my. I mean, and honestly, if that's how you remembered him, that must have been difficult tapping into the more empathetic or humanistic, I guess you could say, aspects of him.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything in the story that almost didn't make it into the book, and why did you keep it? And then flip side, is there anything that you left out that you were like, "Ooh, you know what? That would have been cool."
Good question. So that one's hard for me to answer again because I spent so much time with this book and like agonized over like every scene. Um, I feel like there was not necessarily anything that's missing. But and honestly, like again, I feel like I took things out and put things back in, and I went back and forth so many times with so many different drafts that I feel like everything was supposed to be there that ended up in the book, and there was nothing that like I almost cut
Mhm.
um, that I didn't. I feel like yeah, I can't really think of anything in particular.
Honestly, that's fabulous because I think a lot of times authors will, we finish it and we feel like it's done in the moment, and then we go back and we reread it and go, "Ooh,
Yeah,
maybe this is too much," or maybe I could expand on it, or hey, let's do part two. And that, like, spawns like a follow up novel.
yeah.
So
I do
yeah.
feel like there's an opening for a sequel,
Oh, okay.
or a prequel, because there's a lot that came up, about the history, like my great grandparents. Um, would be actually the other character haven't talked too much about is Eleanor. She's
Mhm.
George's wife, my based on my grandmother. Her family background, like her parents. Her father he had a fur factory in Denver, and there's a lot of really interesting, and if you go
Oh,
back
wow.
to like the early 1920s, like there's some really interesting stuff with like Lebanese immigrants in Danbury during that time. So I'm like, oh, so I mean, that could not make there's no way I could have included that. Like I did like a little snippet of that, like in this book, like
Mhm.
just to get her father's backstory a little bit. But like there's a whole nother book there. I couldn't, it'd have to be a book.
I was gonna say, you're gonna have to do that now, right? Like totally do
Yeah.
it from like her perspective, or like her
Yeah.
familial, like a fur factory is like, oh my God, right? Like,
Right? Yeah.
um, what do you, oh, who do you think that, who do you think would actually like fall hardest, like embrace the book the most?
Um, so I think anybody really who likes family drama
Mm,
or historical fiction or really learning about other cultures. The Lebanese, as I mentioned in the beginning, I was talking about how Lebanon is at the forefront of the news right now, and
mm,
um, the Lebanese culture and history is really, really I try to bring to life in this novel, and I got to recreate, Beirut Beirut in 1953 was like the Paris of the Middle East. It's like this incredible city, and it's still to this day. I mean, it really is. I had the opportunity to travel there, in my research, and it's just incredible. But so anybody who wants to, experience a new place, you can't go back in time. We can't time travel, but we do that through books, right?
yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, if you want to go back to 1950s Connecticut or Lebanon, yeah, this is a good way to do that.
Excellent. Excellent. Is there anything in the story that readers were like, oh my God, I totally just was not expecting that?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but I feel like maybe the ending.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the ending. Yeah, because if hopefully people will read it. I don't want to give away the ending, but I think the ending tends to maybe catch people off guard a little bit.
Got it. Okay. Now if someone reads like, let's say, I don't know, the first 20 pages or so, what keeps them going?
So probably the fact that it's family drama that's not your own, so it can be entertaining without the stress. Um, and also the there's a lot happening in the first 20 pages. You're left with questions like, what is this guy gonna do? How's he gonna handle like the five different problems he's got going on?
Mm. Oh wow. Yeah. No, that's a great point. Is there like a specific mood that you think a reader should come into before they start when they first pick up the book?
Oh, sorry for barking. So, well, apparently Rosie got excited about that question.
Exactly.
Sorry. um,
All
I
good.
was. So I feel like it's a good. I know some people like to read to like escape, as a distraction, and it's a good distraction. It is, I think, a more serious book.
Mm.
Like I said before too. It has its lighthearted moments, but you probably want to be prepared to feel lots of feelings. It's pretty emotional. It's an emotional roller coaster, as we mentioned before too. So definitely
Got
be
it.
prepared for that.
Okay, cool. Now, in one sentence, why should someone pick up the book?
You're cutting me down to one sentence. This is tough.
Thank you.
um, so you should pick. Oh, you can't. Sorry, I've got all kinds of company today. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Hi, sweetheart.
Hi. She's my number one fan over here. You should pick up this book if you want to read an exciting, emotional, cultural novel set in 1950s Lebanon and Connecticut.
Fabulous.
I think I got it all.
And is there anything that maybe we haven't talked about that we want to bring up?
Not that I can think of. I feel like we kind of covered most of most of the big point. I don't want to give too much away, but it is a story, obviously, that's very close to my heart, and it has a lot of me in it. And yeah, I still get a lot of people reaching out who've picked up a copy, and that's really exciting because again, these people lived in my head for like 10, 11 years, and now for other people to experience their stories and reach out, and that's been really exciting.
Oh my gosh, it's so fabulous. And for anyone who's watching, No, Waiting for Beirut is actually on sale in ebook version or only for 99 cents through the month of March. So if you're curious and you're like, oh, but I don't know, definitely go pick up the EPUB and have a fabulous ride of a story. So with that, as always, Rebecca, I completely love you. I completely adore you. Thank you so, so much. And until next time.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It was so great to be here. I miss you.
Oh, I miss you too. Bye.
Bye.